A quiet Tuesday afternoon. One of those uneventful days where nothing should have happened, until it did. The museum was nearly empty, save for a few tourists wandering through the grand hall, their voices hushed in reverence for the priceless artifacts around them. Security guard Franklin Moore had been on the job for 5 years. 5 years of standing, watching, and occasionally escorting out rowdy guests who got too close to the artwork. It was routine, predictable. But today, something caught his attention. A woman. She was black, tall, poised, dressed in a sleek maroon blazer over tailored slacks, her polished heels clicking against the museum's marble floors as she moved. She walked like she belonged, her eyes scanning the exhibits with an intense focus. But Franklin, he didn't see belonging. He saw something else, and he didn't like it. He started watching her, at first from a distance, then closer. Close enough to see her gaze lingering on one particular painting, a 19th century oil masterpiece, one of the museum's most prized pieces. She tilted her head, examining the brushstrokes, the colors, the history behind it. And that's when Franklin decided he had seen enough. He straightened his uniform, adjusted his belt, and approached her. His steps were slow, deliberate. "Excuse me, miss." She turned, raising an eyebrow as if she already knew what was coming. "Can I help you?" Her tone was calm, but her eyes, sharp. "We don't allow loitering." Franklin crossed his arms. "And we definitely don't allow people getting too close to the exhibits." She blinked, a smirk tugging at her lips. "Loitering? You've been walking around without a tour guide, without a ticket in hand." He glanced at her empty hands. "I need to ask, what exactly are you doing here?" The woman exhaled, her smile unfazed. "I'm appreciating the artwork." "That's so?" Franklin's eyes narrowed. "Because I've never seen you here before." Her smirk widened. "Oh? You know every single person who comes through this museum?" He ignored the question. "I'm going to have to ask you to step away from the painting." She took a slow, deliberate step closer instead. "That's interesting." Franklin's patience thinned. "Ma'am, if you don't comply, I'll have to escort you out." Her head tilted. "And if I don't?" He reached for his radio. "Then I'll remove you myself." Before Franklin could press the button, a voice cut through the air like a knife. "What do you think you're doing?" An older man in a crisp gray suit was striding toward them, his expression somewhere between horror and fury. Franklin straightened. "Handling a situation, sir." The man's face paled. "A situation?" He turned to the woman. I'm so sorry about this." Franklin's brows knitted. "Wait, you know her?" The woman finally let out a small, knowing laugh. Then she took a step forward, extended her hand, and in a voice dripping with amusement, she said the words that made Franklin's stomach drop. "I'm the curator." Silence. Franklin's hand fell from his radio, his face drained of all color. The older man looked absolutely mortified. The tourists, mouths hanging open, and the woman, unshaken. She folded her arms. "Now, would you like to explain why you're harassing the person who literally runs this exhibit?" Franklin's mouth opened, then shut. He could feel the sweat forming on the back of his neck. This couldn't be happening. This had to be some kind of joke. But the name Doctor. Ayanna Cole was already clicking into place. The articles, the interviews. The famous art historian that the museum had been boasting about hiring for weeks. And he had just tried to kick her out. His throat went dry. I didn't realize." Dr. Cole let out a slow, unimpressed sigh. "You didn't, huh?" She wasn't angry. She was something worse. She was disappointed. But here's the thing. This wasn't over. Not even close. because as Franklin fumbled for an apology, Ayanna took another step forward. Her voice dropped, and what she said next changed everything. Franklin felt the weight of the stares on him. His own boss was standing just feet away, frozen in shock. Dr. Ayanna Cole, the woman he had just tried to remove, was looking at him with an unreadable expression. Then she spoke. "This isn't the first time, is it?" Franklin's pulse spiked. "What? Excuse me?" She didn't blink. "I'm willing to bet you've done this before. Singled people out. Watched them a little too closely. Assumed the worst." Franklin clenched his jaw. "That's not..." "Tell me, how many people have you followed around this museum today?" More silence. Then Ayanna turned to the older man in the gray suit. "Mr. Holloway?" She said his name like a challenge. The museum director visibly swallowed. "Dr. Cole, I can assure you..." She raised a hand. "Save it." Then turning back to Franklin, she gave him a look that froze him in place. "You should know something. I've been working undercover." Franklin stopped breathing. "What?" Dr. Cole stepped even closer. "You heard me. I've been walking these halls for weeks, watching how people interact, how security interacts with them, how they're treated." Her voice hardened. "And do you want to know the one pattern I kept seeing?" Franklin's fists clenched at his sides. He already knew the answer. "People like me," Ayanna continued. "Getting followed, getting questioned, getting treated like we don't belong." Mr. Holloway was sweating bullets now. "Dr. Cole, please, we can..." She ignored him. Her eyes stayed on Franklin. "You thought you were doing your job. But what you were really doing," a pause, "was proving my point." And then she turned and walked away. The room felt like a vacuum. No one spoke. No one moved. And Franklin, he knew. His job, finished. His reputation, destroyed. And the worst part, it was all caught on camera. But wait, here's where it gets even crazier. Because just as Dr. Cole was about to disappear through the museum's grand doors, Franklin's radio crackled to life, and the voice that came through made his blood run cold. "Sir, we've got a problem." "Dr. Ayanna Cole?" She stopped, paused mid-step. She turned just slightly. Franklin slowly reached for his radio. "What kind of problem?" The voice on the other end hesitated. Then, "A missing artifact." Franklin's heart slammed against his ribs. "Dr. Cole?" She smirked, and that's when he realized. She knew something he didn't. Franklin's fingers tightened around the radio, his pulse hammering in his ears. A missing artifact? Now? Just moments after he had humiliated himself in front of the doctor. Ayanna Cole? He turned to the museum director, Mr. Holloway, whose face had gone pale. The museum had security measures in place. High-tech cameras, pressure-sensitive displays, and guards stationed at every major exhibit. But now, with one of their most valuable pieces missing, it was clear that someone had slipped through the cracks. Dr. Cole didn't look surprised. In fact, she looked like she had been expecting this. Franklin opened his mouth to speak, but before he could say a word, she beat him to it. "Where?" Her voice was sharp, authoritative. The security feed crackled again. "The Renaissance wing," came the hesitant reply. Franklin's stomach twisted. That was one of the most secure sections of the museum, where pieces worth millions were displayed. He started walking, fast. Dr. Cole didn't wait for an invitation. She strode beside him, her heels clicking with purpose. The museum staff had gathered near the entrance to the Renaissance wing, their faces a mixture of concern and confusion. Franklin pushed past them and stepped inside. His heart nearly stopped. Where there had once been a priceless 16th-century gold chalice, There was now an empty glass case. The security lasers were still active, the cameras still pointed at the exhibit, and yet somehow it was gone. The air was thick with tension as Franklin stared at the empty case. The weight of Dr. Cole's presence behind him felt suffocating. He knew what she was thinking. He knew how bad this looked. A black woman gets harassed by security only for an artifact to vanish in the same breath? He could already hear the accusations forming in her mind. But then she did something unexpected. She smiled, a slow, knowing smile. Franklin turned to her, his patience unraveling. "You think this is funny?" She tilted her head. "I think it's convenient." That sent a spark of irritation through him. "Excuse me?" A high-profile museum hires a black curator, makes a big show of diversity, only for a major artifact to disappear right under her watch. Do you know how predictable that is? Her words cut deep. Franklin wanted to argue, wanted to tell her she was wrong, that this had nothing to do with her. But she was right. The optics were a disaster. People weren't going to blame security. They were going to blame her. Mr. Holloway cleared his throat, stepping forward, his hands trembling slightly. We need to check the security footage." Franklin nodded, motioning to one of the guards to pull it up on the tablet. The moment the footage loaded, his stomach clenched. The video showed the chalice in its case at 10:14 a.m. The next second, it was gone. No one approached. No one tampered with the case. It just vanished. Whispers broke out among the staff. "That's impossible. The cameras must have glitched. This has to be some kind of trick." Franklin rubbed his temples, trying to make sense of it. There was no way someone could have taken it without being seen. No broken glass, no tripped alarms. Nothing. Dr. Cole took the tablet from the security officer's hands, rewinding the footage, her eyes narrowing as she played it back again and again. And then, her lips parted slightly. She saw something. Franklin leaned in. "What?" She replayed the footage in slow motion, pointing at something barely noticeable in the corner of the screen. A shadow, a flicker, a reflection in the glass. Franklin squinted. That's someone's hand." Dr. Cole nodded. "Not just any hand, someone wearing gloves." Franklin's blood ran cold. If someone had managed to manipulate the camera feed, if they had looped the footage, it meant one thing: an inside job. He turned to the other guards, his voice razor sharp. "Lock the exits. No one leaves the museum." The guards snapped into action. Staff members began murmuring in panic. Mr. Holloway wiped sweat from his forehead, his entire body trembling. And Dr. Cole? She was still watching the footage, deep in thought. Then, without warning, she turned and walked away. Franklin stared after her. "Where do you think you're going?" She didn't stop. "To find my thief." His frustration boiled over. "And what exactly do you know that I don't?" Dr. Cole finally turned, her dark eyes flashing. "I know art, and I know thieves, and if I'm right..." A pause. "They never steal for money. They steal for power." Franklin swallowed hard. "Meaning?" She smiled again, but this time, it was grim. "Meaning whoever took that chalice, they're still inside this museum?" The word sent a chill down Franklin's spine, and then, as if on cue, the museum's lights flickered. For a split second, everything went black. Then the emergency generators kicked in. The backup lights flashed red, casting eerie shadows along the marble walls. The museum's security system had just gone offline. Franklin's radio crackled. "Sir, we lost all feeds. All cameras are down." Dr. Cole exhaled slowly. "They're making their move." The museum had gone from a crime scene to a trap, and Franklin knew if they didn't act fast, whoever was behind this was going to disappear for good. Adrenaline surged through him. He grabbed his radio. "All units, listen up. Whoever took that artifact is still here. Secure the perimeter. Check all blind spots, service corridors, and storage rooms. We're shutting this place down until we find them." But as the guards scrambled into action, Dr. Cole had already vanished into the dimly lit hallways. Franklin cursed under his breath and took off after her. She was reckless. She was walking into danger without backup. But the truth was, she was his only lead. He found her near the Egyptian exhibit, standing in front of a small, unmarked door. She turned slightly when he approached, her voice barely above a whisper. "Did you know there's a hidden passage in this museum?" Franklin stiffened. "That's not possible." She didn't argue. Instead, she reached forward and pushed. The door swung open, revealing a dark stairwell. Franklin's breath caught. This was no regular museum theft. This was something bigger. Dr. Cole pulled a small flashlight from her pocket. "Shall we?" Franklin hesitated. Every instinct told him to call for backup, to wait, to think this through. But there was no time. The thief was here, and they were running out of it. With one last breath, Franklin stepped into the darkness behind Dr. Cole, descending the stairs into the unknown. What they found down there would change everything.